Welcome to Town Talk. We have a special episode today in recognition of Remembrance Day. We're standing at the Cenotaph just outside of Riverview Town Hall.
On today's episode, we speak with Russell Kaye, who served with the 12th Canadian Field Regiment in the Second World War, and then on peacekeeping missions in Korea and in Germany, and a military career that spanned 26 years. Here's that conversation. All right, well, thank you so much, Russell, for joining us. We really appreciate you taking time to share your experience as a veteran. So maybe just to start things off, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with the Army?
Well, first of all, my name is Russell Kaye, and I got started in the Army when I was quite young, 18 years of age. As a matter of fact, I worked in an Army base in Sussex when I was 17. And that was my first experience with working around Army. And of course, being brought up in the country, I was a farm boy, and everything was new to me, especially all the military activities and stuff. And I was on my way home from Camp Sussex one day, hitchhiking. I was picked up by an RCMP sergeant, and he asked me how old I was, and if I was going to be joining the Army when I reached 18. I says, well, I'll probably join something. Anyhow, he said he knew of a course in Moncton that was going to be in progress very shortly, and it was in relation to the Royal Canadian Air Force as a machinist. I said, that sounds very interesting. I wouldn't mind trying that. So he gave me the address where to go. I went to Moncton, and I get into the course, and about halfway through the course, I met a few military guys, Army, that were taking the same course. And I was kind of intrigued by these military guys all dressed up in their uniforms. So when I reached 18, right in that same building over in the corner of Highfield and Main, at the great big post office, that's where I joined up in that building. And it was all right there. I just went over and joined up. And of course, I didn't realize that was the end of my course. Because as soon as I joined up, I was on a train going to Fredericton to take basic training. So went to Fredericton, did my basic training, and after that I was sent to Camp Petawawa, actually, to do gun training, to be a gunner, an artillery gunner. So I finished my training there. And I was still too young to be posted over, so in the meantime, I had volunteered to go into an airborne unit, which was being assembled in Manitoba, Winnipeg. So, of course, I volunteered for everything. So I went to Manitoba, and when I got there, they found in those days, if you had a scar on your big toe, you couldn't jump. They said your feet wouldn't. So I had broken some bones in my foot when I was young. And of course, that was the end of my paratroop jumping. So there I got bounced from there back to Debert, Nova Scotia. And I was still a little too young to go overseas. So shortly after that, I did reach. You had to be 19 to get posted overseas. And I get on a ship, I went to England, waited there at a place called Camp Borden in England, and then I was sent to the 12th Field Regiment. That's the regiment I fought with, the 12th Field Regiment. They were from Guelph, Ontario. As a matter of fact, they sent me this hat, as I now am the only one living from that regiment. Wow. So I go, well, I guess that makes me the commanding officer.
Absolutely.
Anyhow.
What, you said you volunteered for just about everything. You were a very eager young man. Why were you so eager? What inspired you?
No, I guess it's just sort of a quest for excitement, and you didn't want to be a follower. You wanted to get up there in the front. So anyhow, I went to the 12th Field Regiment, and very shortly after that, that's when the D-Day invasion started, the 12th of June, 6th of June, 1944. So we were involved in that. We were one of the first ways in. My regiment was the first regiment to fire on the beaches there. Yeah, I was with the Winnipeg Rifles. They were an infantry unit with us, and that's the unit I get off of the barge with, was the Winnipeg Rifles. And anyhow, there was a few strange things happened on the ground there. The first thing I saw when I get off of the barge was a person coming with a wheelbarrow and another person in the wheelbarrow, all bloody, and I had no idea who they were. Anyhow, they come up by me, and the guy looked at me and he spoke in English. If I could give him a cigarette. And, well, I said, sure, I give him a cigarette. When I gave him the cigarette, I looked, and he had a swastika. They were Germans. They had been wounded, and his friend was wounded so bad he had him in a wheelbarrow. So I gave him a cigarette and then directed him over to where the prisoners, there was several German prisoners by then, quite a few as a matter of fact. So I directed him over there. And as strange as it may seem, I do not remember a fifth of what I did on that beach. I just did it through training. And I tell you, if a person doesn't have the training, that's what keeps you going. Your instincts and your training, it's so instilled into you what to do that you do it. And anyway, we get off of the beach and moved inland, and as I was saying, the rest is in here, the story where we went up all through the French coast and all through the Netherlands and into Belgium and into Germany.
Do you remember how were you feeling when you got off the barge ready to get onto the beach? Do you remember?
I don't know. I don't have a clue how I felt. I sometimes think at night, well, how the hell did I do that? But I did. And so did hundreds and hundreds of other young fellows. A lot of them never finished it, but yeah.
So how long did you serve in the military?
Altogether, I served about 26 years.
So 4 years in the war,
Yeah.
and then you went back into the military later.
Back in the military, I served in Korea. We went there for a year with my regiment, and to come back from there, and then there was various postings there, starting when we come back, we went to Debert, Nova Scotia, and then from Debert, that's when Camp Gagetown officially opened. That would be 1956. We were one of the first regiments to move to Camp Gagetown. And from there, there's so many moves from courses and everything else.
And the missions you were on after the war, they were all peacekeeping missions.
Pretty well, yeah. Basically, I ended up as an instructor, an artillery instructor. And that's what I did. I was a senior NCO, and which is a non-commissioned officer. And
So, obviously, Remembrance Day is well, when we air this, it'll be Remembrance Day. You know, Eric and I both have young daughters. In terms of the next generation and our generation, as a veteran, what's a key message that you would hope that the next generation would take away from Remembrance Day?
I would say, I would like to say, as you know, we used to when every year, except for this year, we used to go to the schools. And every year we go there and try to make sure anyway, that the young people understood what happened during these wars, what it cost in lives and in misery and everything else. Because not only soldiers suffer during the war, the people that stay behind sometimes suffer a lot worse than I used to think of my own mother. And then when I got a little older, when my son and grandson both went to Afghanistan. My family is quite military, and my grandson got involved in a roadside bomb there, and he was a medical person, and I remember getting the call in the middle of the night that your grandson has been involved in a roadside bomb incident. And I said to myself, now I know my mother, what she and a good many other mothers during the war must have went through. And stuff like that I think young people should know.
It's amazing to sit here and hear about the experience, because I can only try and imagine what it must have been like to walk onto that beach and then to move forward as you guys did all the way into Germany, and how I can't imagine how that must have felt. I can't imagine how you get to a place where you're ready to make that sacrifice and to put your own life on the line like that.
Training is the whole thing. You do. If you took greenhorns in there, they wouldn't do that. But through military training, you're indoctrinated in your mind. It's so intense on the job you do. You're part of a machine almost. And if my part don't work, that part won't work. You know what I'm saying?
So you really are relying on the people you're with too to make sure that everybody gets out of there.
Everybody's a backup for everybody else. Yeah.
When you look back on your military career, what stands out to you?
I think probably comradeship, for one thing, stands out to me. You know, people you serve with, you know them better in your own family sometimes, because I mean, you're with them a long time, some of them, and they're almost like relatives. And I would think that would be the main thing. And I enjoyed my career. It had its ups and downs like anything else. My family traveled with me most of the time, and all families that don't enjoy their life in the military. My family all had a good time, enjoyed their life anyway. They still, most of my sons, my grandsons are both I have 3 grandsons in the military. One's a major, two of them are captains, and one girl is a cook, and I guess I left a print somewhere.
The legacy continues, doesn't it? Well, listen, we want to thank you so much for sharing a bit of your story with us today, and thank you so much for your service to your country and to fight for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank Mr. Kaye for taking some time for us today to share his incredible story of bravery and sacrifice. During the conversation, he mentioned one of his grandsons serving in Afghanistan. We spoke a little bit more about that afterward, and he explained that his grandson was able to recover from that incident and was also awarded for his bravery.
Of course, we know that the freedoms and rights that we enjoy today exist only because of the incredible sacrifice of our veterans and by those currently serving today. So we want to thank all of you for that sacrifice and for working so hard to protect our country and everything that we stand for. Thank you for watching Town Talk, and be sure to take a little time to remember not just today, but every day.